When you're awake to the absolute non-relative dimension of reality, you are awake to infinity, limitlessness, beyond limits. So when you're awake to, when you're conscious of, cognizant of no limitation, beyond limits, that's exactly what the experience is. That's ecstasy. It's spiritual ecstasy, which is no limitation. The experience of the conscious experience of no limitation is what gives everybody that overwhelming sense of ecstasy or ultimacy. But so of course that's what we come together to have this kind of. That's why we come together, is to have that kind of experience. But to make that experience of ultimacy equal transformation, you have to back it up with a kind of resolution that, come what may, there's going to be a shift that's based upon one's own taking responsibility for what one has realized. That one's not going to back down on, no matter what. And that's what makes the experience of ultimacy into transformation. Because the experience of ultimacy can just be another amazing experience of ultimacy that doesn't lead to transformation unless we are willing to back it up. Follow?
Yes, you always say.
And also this is important because we live in most of us live in a world context or cultural context where spirit or interiority is not recognized as being real. You follow? So I think that for serious people, it's an inherent part of our responsibility as true seekers is to bear witness to the reality of spirit. In this case, the truth of ultimacy. Right? Because ultimacy is a particular unique experience of reality that changes nothing less than everything while you're in that state. So if in a disbelieving world you claim to know of ultimacy, but you do not change, you're fundamentally not different as a person, then to that world, spirit seems impotent. If whatever you're talking about doesn't seem to have any transformational power. So those of us who are bearing witness to ultimacy or believe ourselves to be true seekers have to be responsible for our own direct experience of that ultimacy through our own resoluteness, through our own objective transformation, and the spiritual self-confidence that is a result of it. That's believable. People are going to believe that. They, wow, you're different. You're different. There's something different about you. And then they know why, and they'll realize, ooh, they ain't just talking about it. Something's really happening there. So there's the experience of ultimacy, but then you have to back it up through a kind of an absolute, like you talked about it. So it's no compromise is of course the most extreme version of backing it up. But we have to be willing to back it up to at least a significant degree. Then it yields transformation. And then ultimacy that yields transformation shows the power of spirit to affect real change. Not just to be a form of, entertainment. You follow?
Yes.
And then also you realize that the experience of ultimacy has a value. Right? So, for example, just to put it in some more mundane terms, some people, everybody's very excited about love. Love's so important. So, if love's so important, then it has value, right? Then it's not just an experience, it's not just some kind of intense emotional experience, but it has some kind of moral value. Correct?
Yes.
If it's just an experience that has no moral value, then it's meaningless. So in a much deeper sense, the experiences we have of ultimacy, we give them value through the strength of our own conviction, which we prove and bear witness to through our own transformation. That's how you know it's real. You follow? You get the connection I'm making? It's really important. Because that creates traction in the world, Because we're talking basically, in this retreat, it's all about interiority. So we're talking about an interior realm of experience that's very different. It's of a different order, of a different dimension. But that dimension gains traction in this world, the world of body, mind, time, and form. It gains traction in this world through our own
action.
Well, no, but through our own willingness to kind of to actually to transform in all the ways that we've been speaking about, because of the truth of what we've seen. So we're standing for that truth as ourselves in a disbelieving world. And as we've been saying, this, when you make this shift from the world of the ego to this different perspective, the ego doesn't exist in isolation. It's part of a created, shared, intersubjective, cultural world space that we create together. So when you begin to stand outside that, standing on the spiritual ground that says the ego's world is false, it's actually a cultural statement rather than a personal statement, because ego doesn't exist in isolation. It's a shared cultural creation. So that's a very radical, revolutionary position to take. And all of the greatest spiritual masters throughout history that have really taken that stand, some of whom really created, cultural revolutions, right? Because of taking a stand like that, variations of that kind of shift. So it's an enormous thing to do. And then you realize, wow, there's something actually happening here. Look at the early Christians. Look at the early Buddhists. They were bearing witness to their own interior awakening in a way that had a profound shift at the level of culture, right? But it was the stand they were willing to take in relationship to what they recognized to be false that caused all the ripples. And so it's what I'm talking about. It's not any different. You follow? So when you make this shift, for example, when I'm speaking to veterans, think of the implications of what you're speaking about. It's a shift of values. When you say, well, this is real and this is not real. It's an absolute statement. You say this is real and this is not real. Before you said this was real and you didn't even know anything about this. Now, how can you do that? So, well, I didn't know about it, but now I know. I see everything differently. Wow. That's pretty big. Follow? So if people get excited about ultimacy but are unwilling to kind of change as a result of the truth of it, then the spirit will not emerge in this world. Everybody get that? At least that's how I see it. So the reason I've always been interested in people making the shift is not for themselves, but for everyone else. You follow? So if I make this shift and you make this shift, then together we can create a different world together.